Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the End Game Insiders on Your Side. A podcast has been developed for senior lab executives by senior lab executives. My name is Melissa Butterworth, and I am your proud host of the End Game podcast. As many of you know, I always like to give a little fun fact about our guest. And since I am both your host and your guest, I'm going to share a little fun fact about myself. I was recently asked to do a documentary about my life story and did. It's actually currently on a app called Inside Success Network under Melissa Butterworth, and I just recently learned that Amazon purchased it. And I am so excited because my give back in life now is to help empower women, to help them find their God given purpose, and to help really show them that they can do anything that they put their mind to. So that's just a little fun fact about me. And I cannot be more excited for today's topic because I have been talking about this topic for many, many years because many of my friends, family members, and or loved ones have had to deal with it. So I'm going to talk today about the new frontier in Alzheimer's diagnostics. Now, for decades, an Alzheimer's diagnosis was a process of exclusion, often having to rely on cognitive tests and brain scans that could really only detect the disease at advanced stages. So in 2026, though, we are entering an era of definitive blood based diagnostics. Trend number one that we are seeing is we've gone from scans to serum. And what does that mean? The most exciting development in the lab industry right now is the clinical validation and widespread adoption of blood based biomarkers. More specifically, there is a biomarker known as the P-TAU 217. Once again, that's P as in Paul TAU 217. These tests measure proteins in the blood that correlate with amyloid beta plaques in the brain. Now, until recently, verifying these amyloid pathology required expensive, invasive PET scans or what is known as a lumbar puncture. Now, high throughput automated lab platforms are offering blood tests that provide these high diagnostic accuracy in the primary care setting. And this is really a game changer. It turns weeks and weeks of undiagnosed Alzheimer's patients into a very specialist heavy process, really into a routine blood draw. So that is really a miracle. Trend number two is we're seeing a significant infrastructure challenge. But here's where the lab of the future really meets reality. These tests require ultra high sensitivity. So we're dealing with proteins in the picogram per milliliter range. This has forced laboratories to upgrade their analytical hardware. Now, we're seeing a significant shift towards digital immunoassay platforms that can count single molecules. It's pretty incredible. Furthermore, labs are having to implement extremely rigorous pre analytical protocols, handling samples precisely to avoid any sort of degradation that could skew these very delicate measurements. It's a massive uptick in precision requirements for a lot of clinical chemistry teams. So we're having to learn really a whole new paradigm. Trend number three, we are seeing here, it's called personalized therapeutic monitoring. So it's isn't just about the diagnosis anymore. With the rise of these anti-amyloid monoclonal antibody therapies, labs are now playing a critical role in actual monitoring this. So the clinical labs are having to help clinicians track if these therapies are clearly amyloid effectively and crucially monitoring for potential side effects like what is known as ARIA or amyloid related imaging abnormalities through repeat biomarker testing. So the lab is moving from more of a diagnostic gatekeeper to more of a partner in the long term treatment management. Now, I also understand there's a lot more that you can do if you end up with the diagnosis of Alzheimer's. And I'm going to talk more about that in my next episode. So if this topic is of interest to you, make sure that you tune in to the next episode because today we talked predominantly about what we are seeing and the trends we are seeing and the specific tests that you can get to have a more precise diagnosis to get to the conclusion that your loved one does have Alzheimer's. And on the next episode, we're going to talk more about being able to detect it early and things that you can do as far as intervention to have a much better quality of life. So, I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed today's episode of The End Game. If you would like to know more information about the lab industry, about general trends and mergers and acquisitions, feel free to reach out to me at M18 Butterworth at advancedstrategicpartnerswithan S.com. And if you'd like to listen to other episodes of The Endgame, we do post all of them on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, as well as our website at www.advancedstrategicpartnerswithanus.com. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to tune in to next week's episode of The Endgame. Signing off as your host, Melissa Butterworth.